All right, here we go. All right, what's going on? Welcome to the video. First time doing a YouTube video here, live video. Actually, I've done a couple, but want to make sure it's working. If you're jumping on the video, please let me know down in the comments if you can hear me all right. Oh, Morgan's on, and she can hear. So the audio's decent enough. All right. Good to know. We'll get started in a few minutes here because it's a 12 o'clock Eastern time live video. And today we are talking about the 5 key factors. I'm going to throw in a 6th one. The 5 key factors to help maintain muscle as we get into our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, even 80s. All right. So it's going to be a good video. I'm going to be going live every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern time going forward. All right. So if you want to mark this in your calendars, I'll have a new deep dive topic every Wednesday at 12 p.m. here on my YouTube channel. So feel free to subscribe to the channel if you like these more in-depth videos. The reason I wanted to start doing this was because social media has become essentially short form 30-second videos, and it's become, especially in the fitness industry, a competition of who can say the most outlandish shit to get the most views and to go viral, right? That's not what helps people. These YouTube videos, these longer form videos where we can actually talk about the nuance of certain topics and actually give 30 minutes, 40 minutes worth of value and worth of information is what actually helps people, right? So I wanted to start doing this instead of, and kind of going away from the 30-second videos where people's attention spans just aren't there and it really doesn't help, right? So if you join the video, please let me know where you're from. Comment down below where you're from because I'd love to know who's out there. I'm in New York right now. This is my office here in our home in New York. I've got a standing desk and an under the desk walking pad, as you can probably tell. So I get in tons of steps easily with this under the desk walking pad. But because I'll be going live every Wednesday, I'd love to make this like a pretty good community and a time where whether you're a client of mine or not, you can come on here live and ask me questions in real time about your own fitness, right? So you can always come on here regardless of what the topic is for the day, ask whatever questions you have, and I will do my best to answer them in depth. And I've allotted an hour for this time slot every Wednesday. So if you have questions, bring them on Wednesdays and make sure you subscribe to my channel. But it is 12 o'clock on the dot here. The good thing is that for this video and for most videos, what I'll probably do is I'll give you guys sort of like a gift for those of you who come on the video and watch the whole thing. So at the end of the video, I'll be offering a free training program of some sort to help with building muscle or maintaining muscle. So make sure you subscribe to my channel, make sure you comment down below so I know you watched, and let me know obviously that you want the free gift at the end. All right, so let's dive into it. The thing is about and I was talking with a client today about maintaining muscle in a fat loss phase. We're sort of taught to believe that we're sort of destined to lose muscle as we get older. And as we get into our 50s, 60s, 70s, like there's no way around it that we're just going to shrivel up into these like weak, frail beings that just have no durability or strength, right? And that's sort of been true in the past because past generations didn't have social media, they didn't have the internet. There was probably some people who knew that they should be strength training and working out and taking care of themselves, and that it wasn't inevitable that they would become shriveled up, decrepit little old people that are very fragile. But now we have studies, we have research, we have proof that there are people in their 70s, in their 80s, even in their 90s who are not only like not losing muscle, but they're actually really strong, and they can, certainly stay durable, stay strong, stay mobile, and even maintain a pretty good body composition, right? So that's what we're going to be going over today, right? How to do that, how to be a fit, strong individual in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And because that's really the name of the game for not like just aesthetics, but for maintaining a high quality of life. You still want to travel easily. You still want to, play with kids or grandkids, play sports and be active with them. Like it keeps a high quality of life if you're someone who is strong, mobile, and capable of moving around. All right, so that's what we're diving into today. I've got 5 key factors to help you do this. If you're joining the video, please let me know down in the chat. Comment down below where you're watching the video from. I'm in New York, and like I said at the start here, I'll be doing a live video every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, talking about a different topic that I think would be really helpful, specifically to my clients. But I know if this is information that I want my clients to know and to have, then people who aren't my clients as well should probably hear this as well, right? So feel free to come every Wednesday with your questions, and I'll be giving a gift most of the time to those of you who are staying and watching the whole video and communicating here in the chat. All right. So let's see. So 5 key factors to building muscle. Some of these, I've got my notes here, by the way. That's why I'm looking here. Some of these are really important to help, building or maintaining muscle. But one of them is a non-negotiable. One of them is absolutely required. So I'm going to leave that one for last, because that one's the most important. And it's also kind of the most obvious one as well. So the number one thing that I'm going to talk about for maintaining muscle is eating a higher protein diet. Now, you probably know this, right? Now, there's a difference between knowing you should eat protein and actually eating the right amount of protein. Everybody on earth knows I should eat protein if I want to maintain muscle or build muscle, and they're still under eating protein, right? So here's what I specifically recommend. 0.7 grams per pound of goal body weight seems to be kind of the bare minimum of what you should aim for if you have any care in the world about muscle mass. Okay. So again, a lot of people, and you've probably heard this, that you should eat 1 gram of protein per pound that you weigh. I've just got too many examples where that's just totally inappropriate. Like, I'm eating 60 grams of protein more than what my body weight is. If I was to eat my body weight in protein, I'd be eating way less than I could and get benefits from. And that's based on my body composition, my experience, my goals. Just like someone who's 300 pounds or 350 pounds has absolutely no business eating 350 grams of protein per day. It makes no sense for them. They might even eat half their body weight in protein, based on their current fitness level and body composition. All right. So 0.7, I'll put this in the chat if I can. Let me see. This is my first time using this. So number 1 is a higher protein diet. And this is the amount of protein I'm putting in the chat that you should aim for bare minimum. 0.7 grams per pound of goal body weight. And again, this is the bare minimum. Uh, I'm not a bare minimum kind of guy. Like if maintaining muscle is really important to me, why would I do the bare absolute minimum of what might help me get by with maintaining muscle, right? Like if I want to get ahead in my career, or if you want to get ahead in your career and really be successful, are you going to do the absolute bare minimum to not get fired? Of course not, right? So in many cases, and as a coach who's coaching a lot of people, I'm almost always recommending significantly more than that. um, and especially something to consider is if you're trying to lose body fat too, right? There's one thing about maintaining muscle between 40 and 90 years old, but what if you're also trying to lose weight, which means you're probably eating in a deficit? That's going to wildly change the amount of protein you're going to aim for, okay? Because you almost want to overshoot it a little bit. If you're in a deficit, your body's low on resources. So you don't want to be the bare minimum amount of protein as well. All right. So, but that is the first key factor here in maintaining muscle as you age. If you're someone in your 40s, 50s, 60s, or 70s, and you're eating zero point 0.7 grams of protein per pound of goal body weight, that's a pretty good place to start, right? At least you're not drastically under eating protein. But I could argue that you are still leaving room on the table. You probably could eat even more protein than that. Huh. Nigel said he can't see anything. Can anyone else see me? Huh. Oh, David can see me. All right, cool. Thank you for confirming that. Um, Nigel, maybe there's something about you can toggle with the settings, but David confirmed that he can see. So that's very much a relief because, like I said, I've done 1,000 live videos on Instagram and Facebook. I've done like 2 or 3 live videos here on YouTube, so I'm learning how to do it. YouTube's so much better, guys. I don't know if any of you have businesses yourself or have any type of content that you do. YouTube is it's for people who want to learn, people who aren't looking for just quick, you know, doom scrolling for 7 hours, right? So hopefully you guys can hear and see all right. Thank you for tuning in, Nigel and David. Let's get on with this with factor number 2, key factor number 2, which is eating a moderate amount of calories. So a moderate calorie intake. Okay. And this is what I mean. I'm going to try to explain this as best I can. Let me put this in the chat. So number 2 is having a moderate calorie intake. What I mean by a moderate calorie intake is that you're not eating an overly restrictive diet. Nigel, hopefully you can see me all right, or you can toggle with the settings a little bit and you'll be good to go. I can always send you the replay as well. So you're not eating an overly restricted diet. And this is my best way I can explain this. I've had, over the years, dozens and dozens of guys reach out to me saying they're trying to lose weight and that they care about maintaining muscle. And then they tell me that they're trying to eat 1,200 calories per day, or 1,000 calories per day, or 1,300 calories per day. That is so aggressively low. That is unnecessarily a low amount of food for any adult male. All right. Especially if you're trying to maintain muscle. The muscle mass is something that requires resources. Food and calories is resources for your body to have energy to work out, to do cardio, to run, to get through the day, to lift things up, and also to hold on to muscle mass. So the lower amount of food you eat, the more at risk you are at losing muscle. But the easier it is for your body to lose muscle because it doesn't have the resources and replenishment to keep your muscles uh, satiated, essentially, right? So if you're coming in here eating 1,000 calories, 1,200 calories, and you're an adult male, that's like what I would tell you to do if you wanted to lose muscle, right? Um, Nigel, it seems to be working for other people. The video seems to be working for other people. So you might just have to scroll on your phone or kind of toggle something, but it seems like the video is working for others, or they're able to see it and access it. All right. All right, where's my notes here? So here's what I recommend specifically as far as how much you should eat. Now, if you're in a deficit, like I said, if you're trying to lose weight and you're in a deficit, 500 calories below maintenance is kind of like the steepest that I would go. Like I wouldn't go 600, 700, 800 calories, 1,000 calories into a deficit or below maintenance. Um, I wish I could help Nigel figure this out, but Nigel, can you hear me all right? Or you can't hear or see anything? So this moderate amount of calories, meaning like instead of eating 1,200 calories to lose weight, we're eating 1,700 or 1,800, right? I know I get a lot of people are scared to do that if you're used to being very restrictive, but the more reasonable amount of calories we're eating, especially when in a deficit, the more likely you are to maintain muscle. And by the way, if you eat at maintenance calories, that gives you an even better shot to maintain muscle than if you are in a deficit. And on top of that, if you're eating in a surplus, you're even more likely to maintain or build muscle than if you're eating in a deficit or at maintenance. So essentially, the more food you're eating, the more likely you are to maintain or build muscle. Because, like I said, there are resources for your body that are used as fuel towards your workouts and also as recovery. Specifically, proteins and carbs are the most important macronutrients for maintaining or building muscle, and fats, not so much. Okay. Now, there is kind of a cap to that. Like if you keep going up and up and up and you're eating 5,000 calories a day, that's not going to likely give you much of an advantage of building muscle compared to if you were eating just in a smaller surplus. This is a common mistake that many people have made where they end up gaining a lot more body fat than actual muscle. So that is the first two key factors in maintaining muscle, which is eating a higher protein diet. And number two is eating a more moderate amount of calories rather than a very aggressively low amount of food. Okay. Now, number three, I'm going to put in the chat here. The third key factor is don't eliminate carbs. All right. So we don't want to eliminate carbs totally. And this is for a number of reasons. Carbs are the main fuel source, the preferred fuel source for your workouts. All right. So cutting them out, not giving your body the preferred fuel source for your workouts is not going to be the recipe for getting stronger or maintaining muscle or maintaining strength. You're going to be at a significant disadvantage. And I was telling somebody this just a week or two ago. They told me that they really wanted to build muscle. They wanted to do a body recomposition phase where they would gain muscle while losing fat. And they were eating essentially no carbs. They were eating a carb-free diet. And I told them, hey, I'm not betting money on you to build any muscle while in a deficit because of not eating any carbs. I'm not saying you have to eat a massively high carb diet, but to have some reasonable amount of carbs in there, for women, that's probably 100 grams or more per day. For men, that's probably 150 grams or more per day. 150 grams of carbs a day is so low. Like you could knock that out in one meal without realizing it. If you pour one bowl of cereal without measuring it out, that's going to be 2 or 3 servings of cereal, which is usually over 100 grams of carbs or right around 100 grams of carbs. Um, so yeah, so when you eliminate carbs, that depletes what's called muscle glycogen. Glycogen stores in your muscles, which hurt your performance in the gym. If you're working out and you're carb depleted, your workouts and your strength levels are not going to be nearly as good as if you had a reasonable amount of carbs in your diet. And what I've noticed is some people who try to eliminate carbs don't know this. They think that they're having good workouts. They think that, the strength training is going well, but they just don't realize what the difference would be if they had some proper carbs in their diet. It's a night and day difference. So, let me be as clear as I can about this particular area. If you're eating little to no carbs, I would bet money on you losing muscle. All right. Even if you're doing some of these other things right, even if you're eating a higher protein diet, if you're eating little to no carbs, I'm putting my money on you losing muscle. And especially if you're in a deficit, especially if you're losing weight. Okay. Um, Now, if you're in a surplus, if you're like gaining weight and you're eating little to no carbs and your diet consists mainly of proteins and fats, maybe you can get away with it. Maybe you can maintain muscle mostly eating in a surplus without carbs because your body has some additional resources to use and you're not energy deficient, but certainly not counting on it happening in a deficit. All right. So number 3, don't eliminate carbs. Now, if you're on the video here watching live or watching the replay, let me know in the comments where you're watching the video from. And let me know if these 3 top factors make sense to you so far. I'll be going live every Wednesday here on YouTube at 12 p.m. Eastern time, talking about a different topic that I believe will be really helpful to my clients, that I really, giving information that I really want them to know, as part of their fitness journey, and therefore will probably be very helpful for those of you who are not my clients. All right. So this is what I had in mind when I made this weekly live video here on Wednesdays. Is what info can I give my clients that would be really, really helpful on their journey and also therefore helpful to you as well. So feel free to subscribe to my channel and tune in Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern time. All right. Oh, David is in Kentucky. Very good. Very good. I've had a number of clients in Kentucky. At least 3. At least 3 guys. Ken, Rich, and Kenton, all in the last few years, who have actually all done incredibly well. So welcome. Thank you for tuning in. I'll be here every Wednesday, as I told you, and feel free to come with any questions. If you have anything you need, any specific questions that will be more valuable for me to answer than going over the script that I have and the notepad in front of me, I'd always rather answer your guys' direct questions. So if you are joining, we just had a few people join. Let me know in the comments where you're watching the video from. If you can see me all right. Someone said they couldn't see the video, but others said they could see. And if you can hear me all right, I'd love to make this live video chat every Wednesday a community you can come to for support, for help, and access to me, a trainer who's been doing it for 13 years, and I'm happy to help in any way I can. All right. And I've got a ton of videos. I've got like a lifetime worth of videos on my channel already that I'm sure if you scroll through them and kind of go through a rabbit hole, you'll find info on whatever it is you're looking for too. But let's dive into it. So to recap, 5 key factors to help maintain muscle from 40 to 90 years old. I've had tons of clients do this. I've had tons of clients prove that you can build muscle in your 50s, 60s, and 70s by getting DEXA scans. So you don't have to lose muscle. There's people out there gaining muscle in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. So factor number 1 is eating a higher protein diet. Factor number 2 is eating a more moderate amount of calories rather than eating very, very low amounts of food where you're starving yourself almost. Factor number 3 is don't eliminate carbs. If you care about muscle mass, you're not going to want to go the route of a diet that asks you to eliminate carbs like the keto diet or the carnivore diet. That's the recipe for losing muscle long term. Okay. Now, number 4, key factor number 4 is if you have low testosterone levels. All right. Let me put that in the chat. Low testosterone levels is number 4. Now, this is where like doctors and stuff come into this. You should get your blood work checked fairly routinely, at least once a year, maybe every 6 months, because if you're really low testosterone wise, yeah, you better believe you're going to be at a higher risk of losing muscle as you get older. And not only that, you'll probably have some other fairly negative side effects in your life, whether it's really low energy, feeling like your body's not recovering nearly as much as it should, and other things associated with having really low testosterone. So if your doctors find that you are noticeably low on the scale of your levels of testosterone, that's something that you'll probably want to get handled and taken care of if especially you care about maintaining muscle. Like if that's a top priority to you, if you're watching this video, it probably is. They might recommend something like TRT, which is testosterone replacement therapy. Maybe they recommend something else, but TRT is known to be kind of the go-to treatment for someone who has low testosterone levels. Now, if your testosterone levels are like a tiny bit under the range for your age group, I'm not saying, yeah, push them to get you on TRT, but if your testosterone levels are noticeably low and they say, yeah, you could definitely benefit from this, that's something that genuinely could help increase your quality of life if you're experiencing some of those other negative side effects. But also, it will likely help you hold on to more muscle as you age too. If you have healthy testosterone levels, not even high, just healthy testosterone levels as you age in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, that's going to make it more likely that you're able to hold on to muscle as you get older. All right. And this is coming from someone who is like in a day and age where social media is king and people in the fitness industry, people who work in the fitness industry and create content on the internet, so many of them are on TRT or even other performance enhancing drugs. Like TRT is not a performance enhancing drug, it's a treatment. It's a medical treatment for low testosterone. And there's influencers and people out there on the internet who are abusing these things and abusing performance enhancing drugs to look as good as possible so that they can then sell you their program, right? So it's very misleading. In most cases, they don't tell you that they're on these drugs. And in some cases they do, right? There's more people coming out being honest that they're on certain performance enhancing drugs that do benefit their ability to build muscle or other things like that. I'm not on anything like that. I'm 32 years old. I would certainly get on TRT if I had low testosterone levels and my doctors recommended it. If I'm 40 and that's what happens, great. If I'm 50 and that's what happens, great. But this is coming from someone who is completely natural. I've competed in men's physique competitions where I have to be drug tested. I have to give a urine sample. I have to do a polygraph test, basically proving that I'm natural and I don't take anything that would give me an advantage, right? So this is coming from me that if you're low in testosterone and your doctors recommend it, there's almost no reason not to do it. It's going to benefit your quality of life. It's going to benefit your ability to maintain or build muscle, and that's part of the treatment. So, did I put that one in the chat? Yeah, low testosterone levels. So that is one that I often don't talk about, but it is related to your doctor getting blood work, and if you were to be recommended TRT, and if you're low on testosterone, it would be something that you would have to get monitored more frequently. You'd probably have to get blood work, way more frequently than once a year. Probably be every few months or something like that. All right, so that's something to keep in mind as well. Now, let's dive into number 5. Now, at the beginning of the video, I said there's 5 key factors here. I'm going to throw in a bonus one. There's 5 key factors to maintain muscle from 40 to 90. Only one of them is absolutely required. You have to do this number 5 thing if you want even any chance at maintaining muscle. The other 4 that I just previously went over are really helpful to do, but you could get away with maintaining muscle in your 40s or 50s, not eating quite enough protein, or eating maybe a little bit too low calories, or maybe eating low amount of carbs, right? All these other options I went over, they're not absolutely essential. Number 5 is absolutely essential, which I'm putting in the chat right now. Number 5 is strength training 3 times a week. If you're not strength training consistently, you're not going to maintain muscle. You absolutely are going to lose muscle. And by the way, that goes regardless of what age you are. I'm 32. I will lose muscle if I stop strength training. I'll lose muscle within a month. it's pretty wild. If you're in your 20s, you'll lose muscle if you're not strength training. And certainly, in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, they say in the industry, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? I'm going to put that in the chat too. If you don't use it, you lose it. And that's referring to your muscles. If you don't use your muscles, if you don't challenge your muscles, they don't typically stay around as much, right? You definitely see some muscle loss. All right. And this is the non-negotiable factor that you absolutely need to be doing. And I'm trying to articulate this properly. Like 2 or 3 times a week is essentially the bare minimum. Like before, I said the bare minimum amount of protein is like 0.7 grams of protein per pound that you weigh. 2 or 3 times a week strength training is the bare minimum. And even that, it isn't going to guarantee that you maintain muscle. But if you want to give yourself a higher chance of maintaining muscle, I would say 4 or 5 times a week strength training is probably the sweet spot. It's probably between 3 and 5 times a week. All right. And if it was me, if I was 70 years old and maintaining muscle is a top priority of mine, I'm strength training probably 4 or 5 times a week. Now, maybe some weeks it's 3, some weeks it's 4, maybe 5, maybe not at that point, but it's certainly in that range. All right. It's almost like every other day you're strength training. And that gives you enough frequency to hit each muscle group. It also gives you enough frequency of rest to help the muscles recover and repair. All right. So I have guys who work out 3 times a week who have absolutely crushed it and transformed their body. I just made a post on LinkedIn today about a client who, at 50, has gotten stronger while losing body fat. And he's a perfect example of this. David says, curious, how many rest days? Let's see, can I channel, leave in the channel? Sorry, I'm learning how to do this. Okay. How many rest days must I have? I enjoy working out too much and likely don't rest enough. Yeah, so that's how I feel. That's the situation I'm in as well. So I strength train 5 times a week, and I give myself 2 rest days, and I spread out those rest days. So my favorite way to do it is to work out 3 or 4 days in a row, take a rest, and then work out another 3 or 4 days in a row, take a rest. Sometimes it's 2 days in a row, and then I feel like I need to take a rest. So it's my body seems to feel comfortable at this point in time training 3 or 4 days in a row before needing a rest. Some people it's 2 days in a row. Some people can work out 5, 6, 7, 8 days in a row. And I would argue those people probably aren't training hard enough, or they're not like in each set they're doing, they're not pushing close enough till failure. Like it really is kind of a problem if you're working out 5, 6, 7 days in a row and don't feel like you need to take a rest. That says more about like your training intensity in each set that you're doing rather than anything else. So when we're talking about maintaining or building muscle, I would say certainly uh, 1 or 2 rest days in the week. Now, it's a nuanced topic because you could be active 7 days a week, and there's no problem with that, right? You could have like a holistic, all-encompassing routine where 3 or 4 days a week you're strength training, and then 2 days a week you're doing some form of cardio, and then a sixth day or a seventh day in the week you've got a 15-minute mobility and stretching session, and you're going for a 30-minute walk that day, right? So you can absolutely be active 7 days a week. Even on the days like today's a rest day for me, I'm gonna hit 10 or 15,000 steps. That's what I always focus on activity wise on my rest days. I try to make sure it's not a sedentary day of 1,000 steps. I still try to hit 10,000 steps, especially on a rest day. But my point is with the strength training, you certainly want to have probably 2 rest days in there to give your muscles some level of recovery and some period to recover. I do have some clients who train 6 days a week, like actual strength training workouts 6 days a week, and they have a very high level advanced program that allows them to do that without overdoing it on any one muscle group. Um, it's a bit of a pain to program that for them, but they love doing it. They're going to work out 6 days a week. So I set them up with a really optimal program that allows them to do that. And there's nothing wrong with that. So hopefully that answers your question. Let me know if that makes sense. But generally, a rest from specifically strength training, I would say 2 days a week is probably ideal. If you really want to strength train 6 days in the week, you might be able to get away with that. But the more you're working out, like if you're working out 6 days a week, strength training, it's really hard to be in a deficit. Uh, it's even more in your favor if you're working out 6 days a week to be eating at maintenance calories or in a surplus. You need that extra food to recover properly and to have even decent quality workouts. No problem, David. Thanks for the question. So when we talk about frequency of strength training, 2 times a week is like bare minimum, bare bones, like just being healthy and trying to have some level of strength still, and that's like absolute bare minimum. And again, for that person, if there's someone who's 60 or 70 or 80 years old, strength training twice a week, they're probably going to lose some muscle, right? They probably are. The second you bump that up to a third day, I think they have a better chance at maintaining muscle because that means you're working out almost every other day, whereas 2 times a week is just like very, even more infrequently. So I think 3 days a week is really what most people should shoot for bare minimum. Um, 4 times a week being even better, and maybe 4 or 5 times a week strength training is probably king when it comes to muscle mass. All right, so that is the absolutely required tip number 5. Now I have 5B here. This is a bonus. 5B. which I'm putting in the chat right now, you need to train hard and get close to failure. And I wrote out a post about this recently. But if you're going to the gym 4 times or 5 times a week, and you're checking that box off of strength training enough, just going through the motions maybe isn't enough, right? Especially if you're in your 50s or 60s or 70s, even in your 40s, you may still lose muscle if you're just not anywhere near failure. Okay. So you have to be training somewhat close to failure, because if you aren't, the difficulty level of each set just isn't challenging enough to your muscles to maintain over time. The level of difficulty in each set you do matters a lot. Um, and a comparison I sort of wrote out here. It's like, there's like a major difference between just showing up to work 5 times a week and not doing much, and showing up to work 5 times a week and being really productive and being an asset to your company and really helping the company grow, right? We all know that whether you have an employee or a coworker that shows up, does the bare minimum, in and out at the required times, probably could be replaced fairly easily, right? And then you've got the employees or the coworkers that it would be a pain in the ass to replace this person. Like, oh gosh, this is going to be a problem if we lose this person, right? That's the difference between showing up to the gym 5 times a week or 4 times a week, going through the motions, and showing up and actually trying to get stronger. This is sort of how I explain it to my clients. I want you to try to get stronger every time you work out. It's not going to happen, right? No one is going to get stronger every time they step in the gym. You're never going to go into the gym every week and be able to do more weight than you did the previous week. It just, we'd be bench pressing 1,000 pounds after 6 months, right? It just doesn't work that way. But you do have to make each and every set a challenging set. Like when you finish every set you do, you should think in your head, oh my God, that was rough. That was hard, right? And if you're not saying that in your head, you've selected a weight that is either way too light or you just stopped way too early. If you can do 5 more reps, do it. If you can do 10 more reps, do it. You want to get as close to failure as possible. You don't necessarily need to train until absolute failure, which, for context, for those of you who maybe aren't familiar, training until absolute failure means you literally cannot get that final rep up and the weight falls. Okay. So if you're doing a dumbbell chest press, you literally cannot finish that last rep and you maybe drop the weights by your sides or something like that. Or if you're doing curls, you literally cannot get the weight fully up and you have to stop the set. That's failure. So we don't necessarily have to train until absolute failure every set, but you should be just a couple reps within that. And really, this is when it starts to get uncomfortable. Strength training hard and trying to get stronger like this, it should be out of your comfort zone. If you're only training within your comfort zone, if you're doing the same weight in every exercise across the board than you were doing 6 months ago, you're obviously not getting stronger. And if you're not getting stronger, you're less likely to maintain muscle, certainly less likely to build muscle. If you're doing the same 10 reps every time and you never once try for 11 reps, you never once try for 13 reps, you never once try to do the same 10 reps with 5 extra pounds, it's not the recipe for maintaining or building muscle. So this mindset of training to actively try to do better than last time, to actively try to get closer to failure, it really makes a difference. All right, it really does make a difference. Because if you're only training within your comfort zone and doing what's comfortable and only doing exercises that are comfortable to you, that you like, that's not ideal. Sometimes, and I tell my clients this all the time, sometimes the exercise in your program that you hate the most is the most beneficial. Sometimes the one that's the most uncomfortable is the most beneficial. And that's why I still hire coaches myself. If I'm just doing my own programs, I'm going to choose the exercises I like and that I prefer to do. I'm very rarely, even as someone who is, my life is fitness, I'm very rarely going to choose exercises that are really uncomfortable that I prefer not to do. But if a coach programs me some of those exercises, I'll do it. Right. So hope that makes sense. Now, if you watched the whole video, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the first live I've done here, and I'm going to go live again Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern time. So feel free to join me for that. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. If you watch to this point, I'm offering a free 5-day strength training program. Just comment below gym. It's a 5-day gym workout program, and I'll reach out and send it over, or reach out to me personally wherever you're following along, whether it's Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever it is. Feel free to reach out, and I'll send you that free 5-day gym routine. And like I said, I'll be live again Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern time. Bring your questions, and be happy to answer them. All right. Have an amazing rest of your day. Those in the U.S., have an amazing Labor Day weekend. And I'll talk to you guys on the next one. Bye.